Hi everyone, this is another day, another share with Phyllis, and that's me. I'm starting the first lesson in the beginner piecing quilt making series. So the first block we're going to do is a 9 patch, and that's this one right here. Okay. And in this, it's a 9 patch because you can divide it up by 9 separate squares. And I'm going to show you how we draft this. So you're going to need your drafting ruler, and you're going to need a drafting pencil. I'm going to use my mechanical pencil, and I'm going to divide this up into 9 equal squares, so 3 across and 3 down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we have 12 inches this way. So we're going to split this up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to draw a line this way. Oopity. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, draw a line this way. And we want to be on that line because we're gonna, I should change to a pen so you can see this. We want to use a pencil because sometimes when you draft you have to come back and erase. Okay, and then we're going to turn it a half, and we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just counting out the inches. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first thing we want to do is we want to divide this paper into 9 equal squares, and then we're going to choose our block. So in my case I'm doing this, but if you wanted to do something else, let me just get this. You can get a book like this, and you can go into all the 9 patches and choose a block that makes you happy, that you want to do. So you would go into where all the 9 patches are, and you would find one in there that gives you the block that you want. Now I've specifically chosen the Jacob's Ladder for a reason, because you can take this block, do it over and over and over and over with the same color layout, and get a quilt that looks like that. So this is the block right here, and it's been duplicated how many times and then placed into a direction in the quilt to give you this checkered like pattern. So that's the reason why I chose this block, because you can just draft this block and make this quilt with the same block over and over and over again. You draft it once and you can redo and sew up the same block with the same fabrics multiple times till you get the size that you want. Now the block is this size here, and I can't remember what size these were. I think they were 12 inches. I can give you the amounts, which I'll put down below, of how much you would need in fabric if you wanted to take this block and make this quilt. And I'll give you the amounts that you would need in fabric and how many blocks that you would need to make this size. Now this size is 86 by 86, this particular size. So I'd be giving you those informations, okay? So for us to do this, we have to take the 9 squares and then divide them up. So you have these different, you have a 4 patch here, 4 patch here, 4 patch here, and a half square triangles here and here and here. So we want to to divide that up in a half square triangle here. So we're going to go from, you can't see this. Oh, yes, you can. Okay, my hand's in the way. So you're going to go from here to here and draw a line there. Okay? And you're going to do the same thing on this one. And you're going to do the same thing on this one. You have to be pretty careful because you're going to use this drafting to make your templates. So you've got to be accurate to some extent, because if you're not, your templates are not going to be accurate. Now we're going to draft these blocks here, and that's really simple. You're going to take these 4-inch squares and you're going to divide them in half. So we're going to divide this one in half, this one in half, and then you're going to go over here and do the same thing here. And this one here. The one in the middle has to be divided down the center, both ways. You're going to do this bottom corner, the same thing. So drafting's not that hard. You just got to understand and recognize what the blocks are. And the same thing on this last square. Now, the next thing we're going to have to get done is we need to do some markings here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to write in the margin, there's a little margin on these blocks. I want to write 9 patch and the name of the block that I've chosen to do, which is Jacob's Ladder. Okay. The other thing I want to do is choose my colors. So I have some fabrics here. And when you look at your picture, you have off-white, you have green, and you have some purple. Off-white is background. That's automatically considered background. Purples and the greens. So what I've decided to do is this is going to be my off-white. And this is the fabric that I'm going to put where the green is. This nice teal, and this floral peach is going to go where the purples are. So there's my color palette for this block or for this whole quilt, whatever you choose to do. And if you decide to just do the block and put it aside and follow along and draft every block that I choose to show you how to draft, then you would make sure that you have enough fabric that all coordinates together for each of the blocks. And I can give you a little bit more leeway of what you would need to do the blocks, and for borders if you choose to do that also. So now we have to mark in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our picture, our block layout that we've chosen, and I just need to get myself oriented. So this one here, there we go. This one here is going to be the purple. This here is the purple. So we're going to write down peach because that fabric is going to go there. So that one, peach, this one, which is this one here and here, is these two here. So that's going to be peach, peach. Okay. Now, I write either background on this one. So we're going to write background. 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 So those are done. Now we have to go and do these corners, the center, and they are with this fabric and this background fabric. Okay, so we're going to get out my picture and we see that the greens are all these ones here. So that's these ones here. So we're going to put teal, 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 teal. And then we're going to go and say these are backgrounds. So we're going to go background. Oops, I forgot the R. Background. 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 And then we're finished all those, and then we have these ones here to do. Now they're going, the greens are these ones and these ones here and here. Okay, so we're going to write in teal, 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 and teal. Okay, so that means the last four squares, this one, this one, this one, and this one, are needing to be background squares. So we're going to go ahead and write background, background, and background, and background. So now we've drafted the block, we've made all our fabric choices, we've marked them in, and now it's time to prep your template plastic. So you're going to take your template plastic, and basically these squares, these squares, these squares, these squares, and these squares are all the same size. And these triangles are all the same size. So basically the templates that you need is one square and one triangle. So that's what we're going to do next. And to do that, we need our Sharpie. So what we're going to do is, and this is where it's really important that you stay accurate. So I'm going to go off the square of this template right on the edge because I know that's 90 degrees there and it's safe and it's straight. And I'm going to mark my lines. And then I'm going to take, now I've just put a dot from one end to the other, and I don't have to do this side because this side is already squared up. So now you're just going to take your ruler and mark your seam. No, actually, I just made a mistake. Oh well, we're gonna have to add, sorry. This here is to size. I forgot about my seam allowance. Woo! I'm glad I caught myself. So you have to leave a little bit of room around it. So I'm just going to take another corner. I'm not going to worry about this. I have plenty of these things. So I'm just going to mark my dots. This is the inside seam allowance. the seam where you would sew. So you're going to mark that first. This seam, this is not as, I don't have to be as careful on these. So I've marked each corner off of the pattern that I've drafted, and now I'm just marking that line. Now that's not my cutting line, that would be my sewing line. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark in my cutting line, which is 1/4 inch larger. So I'm going to put my 1/4 inch, I'm going to take this fabric, this thing, and there's a 1/4 inch line on it, and I'm going to place that 1/4 inch line on the one that I just drew, and then I'm going to mark another line, and I make it quite long because it has to go past the other 1/4 inch a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it, put the 1/4 inch line of the ruler onto the line that I drew, and I'm going to mark out a little bit more, and then I'm going to continue going around the circle doing that. Oopity. Okay, till I've gone all the way around, and then I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'll explain it a little more in detail. All right, so now this is what I have. I have, let's see if I can put this down. So I have this inner line was marked off of the draft paper pattern by just putting dots and then drawing from dot to dot a line. And then from that I marked from that line out 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Oh, it's hard to see. Okay, here, let me start over again. So this inner square is the finished size. That's my seam that's my seam line where I'm going to sew, my sewing line. And then I had to add seam allowance. So from that drawn line out is 1/4 inch, and I did that all the way around. I put the 1/4 inch of the ruler onto that line, made sure it's straight, and then I drew the line, and then I went to the next side and the next side and the next side. So I hope that's clear. Now you have to, the next thing I would do is I would write in here 9 patch and Jacob's ladder, and I would write it for a 12-inch block. Okay, now I write that down because you never know, you might decide to do oh, I want to do a 10-inch square. Well, this was not going to be the same size on a 10-inch. This square will be smaller on a 10-inch block, but we're doing 12-inch. So now I'm just going to cut on that outer cut line all the way around. So there's my template all made for the squares. I only need to make one, but I'm cutting so many of the teal and so many of the background. I think it's 10 teal and 10 background out of these squares, out of this square. Now the next one I have to make is the triangle. So I'm going to, I'll use this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark a dot here. Okay, let me just move this down here so you guys can see. So I'm going to mark this one. So I'm going to put a dot here, a dot here, and a dot here. That's going to, I can line now up my ruler from dot to dot and draw my sewing line. I have a nick in this ruler. It keeps giving me a nick. This is my original ruler that I took my first class with. Okay, now. There we go. Now I need to put in the seam allowance, so I'm going to use the 1/4 inch line on the ruler, line it up on each of those lines that I just drew, and draw another line. That's a 1/4 inch away from the line that I just drew. The first lines, my seam lines or my sewing lines. Hope that makes sense. And there you go. All right, so now I'm going to just, actually, I'm going to write that information that I wrote. So I'm going to go 9 patch, Jacob's ladder for 12-inch blocks, and cut those out. So there you go. So now we're just going to cut these out, and we will continue this in the next lesson on how to mark your fabric and cut out your fabric, and then mark your seam or your sewing line on your fabric, and we'll cover that in the next class. And that's it. So there's my templates. My drafting is done. My templates are made, and we will see you in the next lesson. Have a good day. Happy sewing. Bye-bye.